smaller attendance, but we can't knock it out of the park every week. Okay, let's wait until 6:35 to give anyone else on this lovely May day. I can't imagine how someone would have something else to do to start.
Really is a lovely day. The live stream has started, by the way, so you can.
Okay. Welcome to whoever is watching the live stream. We hope we are. And hope you're enjoying it. Yeah. We try not to be as controversial here as some other committees are that get a million hits on some of the things that happen in their meetings. So we strive not to do that. Okay, it's 6:35, so I am going to, since people are kind enough to be here on time, we will start. And first of all, I will begin the meeting by congratulating Brendan, who is now assistant director of the district manager rather for CV6 promotion, well deserved, and I'm going to fight tooth and nail with Kyle to keep Brendan working with this committee next year. Okay. And I want to thank Brendan especially for all the work he did helping organize the last two meetings we had, which were, heavily attended and needed some serious management. So thank you. All right. So this is, I'm calling the meeting to order. It's May 25th and it's 6:36 p.m. to be precise. And I'm welcoming you to the May 25th meeting of the Community Board 6 Youth and Education Committee. My name is John Keller. I'm chair of the committee, and I've called the meeting to order, as I said, at 6:35. And tonight we are joined by Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth. Members of the public, and I notice we have Mr. Lafferty from Borough President Brewer's office and one or two other folks present as well. You can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature of Zoom. If there is time following the committee's discussion, which I think we will have tonight, we will field questions from the public. And Neil Barkley has volunteered, thank you, Neil, to take our minutes tonight. Thank you. And Brendan, would you take attendance or do you want me to do it?
I will do so.
Thank you.
Committee members, I will call your name and you will unmute yourselves. When your name is called, please say present. I will announce if there is quorum. Asia Badi. Looks like Asia is here. Neil Barclay.
Present.
John Keller.
Did you say Asia is here or is it not here?
Not here.
Okay. Present, John Keller.
Abby Cruzmark. Looks like she is not present. Phil also is not present.
And Phil is excused. Phil advised us that he was not going to be here this evening.
Understood. Just a moment. Sean Sherman.
Here.
And Claude L. Winfield.
Present.
We have quorum.
Okay, that's great. If we come up with any resolutions, we can actually vote on them. All right. And I would like to thank those of you who have come here. Obviously, this is a committee that will be in transition with people leaving and coming over the next few months. And Kyle's not here this evening, but he and I have already had some discussions about adding more people to this committee. With the new cast of characters that we will be receiving because, you know, there's some serious stuff that we need to get to, and we need more active members of this committee in addition to the fine work that Sean and Neil and Phil, who is not here, have been doing for us so far. Okay, committee members. Okay, could you put the agenda up, Brendan? Because we are. Thank you. You anticipated me. As I mentioned informally, but now we'll mention for the record. Item 2 of the agenda, the discussion of the partnership between CB6 and the Department of Youth and Community Development. For a variety of reasons, the person who was going to manage that was unable to be here this evening. And I just didn't want to read, you know, a long list of things from without the person familiar with it and waste people's time. So we will move that item to the next meeting's agenda. And I would like to replace it with a topic that came up in the, this would be more an informal discussion, but an informal discussion of middle school, current status of middle school admissions in the Department of Education across the board. So item 2 would be replaced.
John, can I add something? I meant middle school and high school.
Middle school and high school. I have more information in my mind, at least on the middle school, but I will talk about high school as well.
Thank you.
And also I will take a laundry list of questions that you ask and get the data to you afterwards, because I regularly attend meetings that deal with all of this. So, you know, I have no problem at all getting information on this. Okay, and that will probably also include the chair's report, and then I have a couple of thoughts during all the new business. So, do we need? So, are there any objections to amending the agenda as I've just described it? Okay. So just some ground rules, though we're just a small group tonight. When we become a larger group,
sorry to interject, John, but adopting the minutes from the most recent meeting.
Oh, very good. The minutes for the March 23rd meeting were distributed ahead of time. Thank you, Brendan, by the board office. If there's no objection, we'll adopt the minutes as drafted. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Okay, so there are no objections, so the minutes are adopted. Okay, now just some ground rules, which with a small group are not as necessary, but with larger groups that on more difficult issues are. No one may speak until granted the floor. I tend to be fairly flexible with that in a group this size. Committee members, if you have a question about committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. I also tend to be more flexible about that with the group when the group is of this size. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear, and you should find the raise hand function there. If you still have technical difficulty, you may click the chat icon and relay your difficulty. This is something that is important that I became really aware of when I was on the CEC for all those years. The chat function should not be used for committee business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. We can't be having side conversations if members of the public are present that they aren't privy to. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you're having, or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. And when a committee member is given the floor to speak, I'll identify you and you can unmute yourself so that you can speak, at least for now. Everybody who's in attendance as a panelist has control of the mute button. And we're required by executive order to create a verbatim transcript of the meeting. So please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. And so we're going to move on. And the first item of business is to welcome Mr. Bermudez from Councilmember Kalos's office. And the council member actually, well, that's just an aside, but it mentioned this to me on the phone a long time ago, that he was thinking about coming up with creative ways to expand pre-K and 3K seats in Manhattan, particularly in District 6, but obviously it's going to go uptown a little bit too. Adam, I'm going to ask you just to take the floor for a few minutes, and then the objective here is to find productive ways, in which Community Board 6 can help Councilmember Kalos make this happen. So, Adam, welcome, and let you speak for a little while.
All right, can you guys hear me? Very good. Okay. So my name's Adam Bermudez. Work for Councilmember Kalos as his legislative director. So just wanted to announce last month, you guys probably heard that after a 7-year fight, 3K for All has been expanded to our district along with the rest of the city for the next school year. So extending the program is going to be up to 16,500 3-year-olds across the city. The mayor has made a commitment of $3,777,000. So there's a guarantee that by 2023, any family that's looking for a 3K seat should be able to get one. So the city says it's going to support approximately 40,000 3K seats across all 32 community school districts this fall. And Councilmember Kalos is really trying to do everything that he can to make sure that they, keep their word and ensure certain, the promises as far as this district, CB6 and CB8, that the promises come to fruition. So obviously, it's as John was alluding to before, the council member is saying, he's saying to the chancellor, he's saying to parents, how can we get creative? How can we sort of figure this out? It's a space issue. Where can we have some additional sites? So the council members, he said, asking co-op, condo and building owners, do you have 1,000 square feet? I mean, on a first or second floor? In other words, like where do we got the space? So he was very clear with the chancellor in a hearing May 19th, about a week and a half ago about this, and let's get creative. As far as childcare providers, he's looking, if you know any childcare providers, whether they're private or nonprofit, that would be able to operate a new site. One thing the council member realized is, there's some businesses that engage in childcare where they might have different sites, and each site might have its own LLC. So in other words, it's one business, but sort of, legally, the different sites. We've run into problems with that, and he's been very clear to the chancellor and the deputy chancellor about how can we deal with that. So I feel pretty confident, hopeful about certain things, for this school year. I think there's some other practicalities that the DOE has said, as far as new, in terms of new sites, some things aren't going to fly, some things are. So as far as if you know any parents, if you have a child born in 2018, be sure to apply for 3K. The official deadline is actually this Friday, May 28th. So we're really trying to do a lot to talk about it right now, to bring as much attention to the issue. We're introducing some legislation later this week just to ensure that going forward that the DOE properly reports on the data as far as how many people are applying, demographics of who's applying, to extend everything that they do for pre-K through 12, also for 3K. so that, in the coming years, we have some relevant data. Yeah, I mean, I can open it up to questions. I have one last thing. I thought I'd bring the council member. Now, here's him at the hearing.
Councilmember Taylor, and you can tell from our commitments in the budget that we agree with you around the importance of centering our early childhood education. And this is my second hearing, and I'm very clear about your question and what is important to you. So you made it very much known. I'm going to ask Deputy Councilor Wallace to talk more about precinct 3K expansion and what.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link to the hearing on May 19th.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
In the chat. So if anyone wants to hear some, their response, that's what I've got. So if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, I do. Let me start, and then I know that others here will. So the first thing you said was when Ben talked, the council member talked about it, he talked about a 10,000 square. What is the minimal square footage that has to be available?
Let's see. The minimum is 1,000 square feet. Obviously, that'd be a relatively small site, but yeah.
And is there a square footage? I mean, now they're working on, 25 square feet per kid, with the desks in the schools as we start planning reopening. Is there a minimal square footage per kid at the 3K and pre-K level?
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure about that because it's a little different than K through as far as like desks and so. But I can find that out.
Yeah, because like I'm thinking, if I walk across the street to this building that looks like it has empty space on the bottom floor, they're going to say, well, how many square feet do you need? And so what's the that would be a very helpful thing to have that kind of information available. You also mentioned and so what is the minimum viable space that the council member is thinking of for one of these sites? 1,000 or?
The official number is 1,000. To me that sounds right. It's not that small, but it's not that big. Ideally if there was more space.
Okay, no, that's what I'm wondering, because there's also limits on the number of kids you can have in a pre-K classroom too. I mean, it's so anything you can get to me, and Brendan or Brendan, and it's safest to send it also to Brendan. Anything you send to me, just so that we have some parameters. Then you made another comment that other childcare, like right across the street from me, there's a childcare provider, and he's actually in Ben's zone because Ben's zone starts across the street from me, but that's irrelevant. But so if I walk in there and say, are you guys interested in opening a new facility? They're going to say they're commercial, so they're going to say, yeah. And how do they get paid? I mean, I don't want to get into the details of a contract, but
yeah.
Who pays them? Is there a market rate? How is that all done?
Honestly, I'm not. I don't think there's a market based on. In other words, I think there's a per student. But
Mm-hmm.
I can get more details.
Yeah.
But if you have a relationship with the folks across the street and tell them to call us and we'll see how we can connect.
That's a smart thing to do then. Okay, if you could send to Brendan and me, the right phone number and the right person for them to contact, that would also be very useful. And I'm going to make one more comment and then open it to the other members of the committee. And that is that we have, and I was hoping Kyle, our chair, would be here tonight, but he can't make every meeting. But we were actually having a meeting this Thursday night of our business, what we used to call our business and street affairs committee, and that's now been renamed. But basically, it approves licenses So this is a committee that would be very close to space that's available, you know, in the district. And then the other committee that I want to involve in this is our strategic planning committee, which under Ms. Matthews, which attempts to take a view of space. And I know Kyle's anxious to get them involved in this as well. So, I mean, you could just go back to bed, and then I'm going to just shut up and let you talk to the other members of the committee. But, you know, just go back to bed and say, we'll do whatever we can. We'll, you know, we'll beat the, in fact, you know, I'll go to 2 landlords I know in the neighborhood and just ask them.
Great.
And there's open storefronts, and I know who the landlord is of the storefront. I'm just going to go and ask, you know, you guys want to have a use for that? And I'm sure all the details could be worked out. The one thing, you know, I guess the parents are going to want to know is, and it's something you've alluded to, Adam, is this for real? I mean, is the DOE committed to really standing behind this, or is this just a 1 year? And this is no comment on the council member, but by having ample experience with the DOE, you know, is this something they're really going to stick by over a period of years?
I think one thing that, I won't say critical, but one thing that, you know, if there's obviously lots of demand because lots of people have signed up, you know what I mean? In other words, that's a much better message than, in other words, oh, well, not that many people signed up because they didn't know about it. You can easily sort of like, well, I guess there isn't the interest when we know that there is the interest.
Okay,
So that's where if we can do anything we can, encourage folks to sign up, even if, you know, it's like, well, where is the site going to be? Well, they might add some sites, you know, in the East 60s or the East. So even if you don't know, all right, there's a site 2 blocks away, this is where we're trying to get some more sites online in the next, you know, 2 to 3 months.
Okay, and don't be surprised if someone contacts Ben's office and asks if someone could spend a few minutes at the
That's what we're here for.
Business and Street Affairs Committee meeting on Thursday night. Neil Barkley is our assistant chair or vice chair. Neil, do you have any questions that you'd like to kick off with?
I don't have anything right now.
Okay, so can I open it to other members of the committee with any questions for Adam, or directly or indirectly for the council member?
I see that Sean has his hand raised.
Okay, Sean, go ahead.
And thanks for coming. Are there any sites that have been chosen so far? And if so, how has that gone? What's the process been? Or any sites that have been rejected? Just trying to get a feel for what the Goldilocks zone is, you know?
Yep. I guess there were 3 original, you know, there haven't been any more like news added in the last couple of months, which is sort of what you know, the councilman is concerned about. Like I said, the one big that there was a site that was rejected because of this LLC issue, and we're trying to, you know, see what we can do about, you know, that's a red tape thing. In other words, both businesses are owned by the same person. It's one business, it's just multiple sites. So yeah, that's where it's like, if a site might have some red tape, and we can see about how you know, the DOE can sort of figure it out.
But putting aside the LLC issue, can you just give a little context about what that site was that made it potentially desirable? I mean, if it's something that you're looking for, I mean, I don't know if this, it sounds like, you know, the councilman is looking for anybody to just kind of be keeping their eyes and ears out.
I mean,
help out.
In other words, if you're an existing provider, that in other words, you can show that you have capacity, you know what you're doing, you have relationships, just that's, I mean, that's ideal. And so that's where it's like, well, if someone has multiple sites, you know, that's, we want to, encourage those folks.
Got it. But I guess for any site that's potential right now is a place that's currently doing childcare and is looking to just get involved through the city's 3K program. Is that what you're saying?
In other words, for them to open up another site, you know, we want to encourage them to, you know, expand capacity.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, and Adam, are you the point person on this for the council member, or?
Sure, I put some emails in the chat. So my email, my name, but I always give everybody policy@benkalos.com. So So the bosses see that, everybody sees that, can't get lost in the shuffle. So
Okay. Claude, do you have any comments or thoughts based on your long experience in the DOE and with our schools?
No, I don't.
Okay,
And haven't been involved in that level for a long time.
okay.
I don't know what kind of site you're looking for, and I'm pretty certain this might not be a viable site. But you know the old Beth Israel Clinic? It's sitting empty on 25th Street.
okay. I mean, in other words, storefront, first floor. That's the kind of,
Well, it's a building, it's 2
Yeah.
stories, and it's
Yeah.
completely empty right now.
Okay.
Are you working with other community boards as well on this, or are we the first to have stepped up?
Well, I haven't been 8 or 11. Or I know we're spreading the word all over the place. So
But have you been to 8?
I haven't. I don't
Okay.
think. I don't know if
And
someone else on
5?
the team, but yeah.
And I also know downtown, it's been open to, I mean, because, they have a very active community board downtown in schools with, Patricia Laria. So is it okay for us to spread the word, anywhere, or do you want to keep it up here right now? That's as a practical matter.
Spread the word. Spread the word. It's a good cause, John. Feel free to spread the word.
Okay, no, I just wanted to be sure. Okay. Anyone else with comments or questions for Adam? Because I think this is something that we could really, my aim as chair of this board council committee. Been on too many committees. The chair of this committee is to focus on very practical things, that other groups in the education space are not focusing on, because so many people are focusing on the contentious hot button issues. And I want us to do stuff like Neil and Sean did earlier this year and go out and figure out how to get Wi-Fi and, Wi-Fi enabled laptops to kids in temporary housing. So that's really the sorts of thing that and I want to work with schools on their budgets, the participatory budgeting. So we might be bothering Ben about that, or Ben's successor, I guess, about that. And we'll certainly be bothering Keith and Carlina about it. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Adam. I appreciate your taking half an hour out of your Tuesday evening to spend with us, and we appreciate it very much.
Great. Thanks, John.
Thank you very much. Okay, so the second item, is there any, I noticed, Adam, could you stay for one more minute? I noticed, I apologize, I noticed that we do have members of the public who are here and noted as attendees. Brendan, what would be, if any of them had a question, what would be the right way for them to get a question to Adam?
The appropriate venue would be through the Q&A feature of Zoom.
Okay,
And
so they're
I
at
do
the
not see
bottom.
any questions at the moment.
Okay, but so I would just like to give the members of the public I recognize a couple of the names, but others of you I don't, just to give you a chance to ask any questions you might have for the council member, since we have his representative here. I think that's, I think we waited enough, so we'll assume that none of them have any questions that are here out of interest, which is something we really appreciate. Thank you, Adam, again. Okay, so before the meeting started, one of the committee members asked me what the initial impressions were of the new middle school admissions process and high school admissions process. And the answer is that we have we don't know yet. It's sorting itself out. That we do know that there are substantially fewer kids who say they're going to be coming to public school, middle school next year than the year before. I can get you the exact number of that. We do know that, you know, the DOE reports that I think 72% of the students got one of their top 3 choices in middle school under the new system. And, you know, anecdotally, I'm not here to spread gossip, you know, but if you talk to some people, you'll get a perspective that they're very unhappy, but that's gossip. But if 72% of students got one of their top 3 choices, that to me is, you know, suggests that things are, you know, not necessarily totally smooth, but moving along, you know, well enough. And that's certainly what District 15 found, you know, and we had Kelly McGuire, who was the assistant superintendent in District 15, who is now the superintendent of District 2, who did a lot of that reorganization and of District 15, and the sky did not fall when they reorganized admissions. As to high schools, there was a substantial change, and I will get the hard data on this, Claude. But there was a substantial change in, as those of you who are familiar with high schools know, that their District 2, for example, has what is called District 2 priority high schools. And they're very well regarded schools, schools like Eleanor Roosevelt, Beacon. And the percentage of kids from outside District 2 coming into those schools, I mean, it's gone from like 2% to somewhere in the 60%, which means that which would suggest, and I haven't seen the demographics on this yet, that those schools will be far more integrated, which was one of the intentions of making that change. So that was a major change. The specialized high schools still had the specialized high school admissions test, and that yielded the same results that it's yielded year after year, a disgracefully small portion of Black and Hispanic kids being admitted. But we have active discovery programs in all of these schools, and especially at the 2 biggest, well, the ones that I'm most familiar with, Stuyvesant and Brock Science, but I imagine also Brooklyn Tech, active programs during the summer to help these kids get ready, you know, for the school. And, you know, there was, by the end of the year this year, no statistical material difference in the performance of the discovery kids at Bronx Science and the performance of the rest of the class. And that was because, you know, there was just a lot of attention paid to helping kids who were, you know, had some trouble in the beginning, but who, you know, to helping them and making sure that they succeeded. So, you know, so I would get some hard numbers on all of that for you. But in general, you know, one of the things in my experience that you have to deal with when you make change is, you know, the sky is falling, you know, people fear change. And in general, when you make the change, and you have dedicated principals like Rachel Hoyle at Bronx Science and Sung Yu at Stuyvesant, making sure that it works. It works. So I'd be very happy to. I don't want to, you know, claim that that's a comprehensive report because it was put together very quickly based on my experience. But that's what I've been hearing. Claude, is that consistent with things you've heard, or since you asked?
I was asking the question that you already commented on what I was asking the question about. I read an article recently that was citing the changes in the admission rate at Eleanor Roosevelt,
Yes.
and essentially it going from 2% to about 60%
Yes.
of outside applicants. And I don't know whether it was Beacon or Baruch. It must have been Beacon, I guess. I don't know. I think maybe Baruch went up from 40% to like 42%. So that's some significant changes in terms of outside enrollment coming into the district, and it not being exclusive in a sense to the district. So that means there's going to be movement somewhere. Either people are not going to come or they're going to go somewhere else.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So that was the essence of my question. But the only other thing is you mentioned who's the principal of Stuyvesant now?
Sung Yu, his name is Seungyu.
Okay, it's a man. Okay.
Yeah, it's a gentleman. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The Discovery program, is that run only during the summer, or is that run sometimes after the exams are taken and they've done an analysis of the students that are borderline?
That's a good question. And because of COVID, I haven't been in the building every week, which I used to be. And and I would have just been able to walk in and ask, but I'll find that out. My impression is that it's done during the summer, which is coming upon us quickly.
Yeah.
Because right now they're trying to use limited space for AP exams and everything else, all the year-end stuff that I apologize for some noise in the background here. Let me try to get more information on that question.
And do they keep any demographics of the number of students that they offer the Discovery program to, et cetera?
I'm sure they do. I have not. It's a case of where if I was in the building every day, I would know it, but I'm not. But I'll ask. I'm still on for another month. I'm still vice president of the PA there, so I could find out information, and I'm still on the SLT at Bronx Science, so I could.
That was the gist of my question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and you made the other point that until September, whatever the opening day of school, September 13th is, whatever, it's late this year because of Rosh Hashanah and other holidays. Until that day, we're not going to know how many people actually show up. In schools, so that's going to be a big day. Any other questions from other members of the committee on this topic? And if I don't have the information, I'll be happy to. I usually know where I can find it. Okay, yeah, I'm hoping that we will have from among the new members of the committee, other people who are parents of kids in the schools, so I don't have to pretend to be the only expert here on the topic, which is erroneous because everybody has their own perception on these things. Okay, and once again, we do have members of the public here, and let me pull up that list. Do any members of the public have questions that they would like to address through the Q&A function of Zoom? About what I just talked about, which was an informal conversation. Okay, good. And that's, we can talk about these things, more as the summer progresses. So the only other new business that I would have is that, I've become more and more convinced every day that the plan that I want to have for this committee to be very practical. And I want to get, hey, Brendan, did we ever complete the doodle where members of the committee could select schools that they wanted to focus on?
Um, I think I drafted a doodle, and I just never followed up with you to
Oh yeah,
make
but
sure that was what you
yeah,
wanted.
you've also been a one-man band over there for the last 2 months. So,
Yeah, I'll need to
but
double check.
once we have the new members of the committee, and we have an active committee, people involved on the committee who want to participate in the work of the committee. Then I would like everybody to have at least 2, maybe 3 schools that they talk to on a regular basis and find out what they need. I think Neil and Sean set a really good example for this, in their work with 116, and you went over to the River School and PS40. I think you made some contacts there. And so I would like to have every member of the committee have a couple schools. I know PS 59 and High School of Art and Design. I know both of the principals already, and I'll take 2 of them myself. So I'm not asking other people to do things that I'm not doing. And with everybody now, all of our council members do participatory budgeting now. Keith started it. Dan hadn't done it, but Keith has started it. So he's doing participatory budgeting. I know Ben is very proud of participatory budgeting. Carlita
He loves
is participatory budgeting. And oh yeah, you guys are stars. That's great. So we want to really find out what schools need, that are in our zone, and help on that, and just find out what's on their mind. And I think it'll also be particularly interesting in September, October, as we come back to full, everybody in class, that we could get some feedback. And we're fortunate. I don't know who the new mayor is going to be, or who his or her people. I guess if you believe the political poll today, it's going to be her. So we don't know who his or her person will be, but we do know that we have strong contacts with with the current leadership of the DOE. So we can, certainly take advantage of them in October and November, before the new mayor takes over, to get some really good data from them. And, who knows, one of them might end up doing whatever. Okay. So I have no need to extend the time of this. It's almost 7:20. We lost a part of our agenda for practical reasons, but I think, had a very productive discussion. Is there any old or new business that any members of the committee would like to raise? This is where everybody always holds their breath. Please don't. Okay. All right. So seeing none, I'm going to declare this meeting adjourned at 7:19 p.m. and wish you all a good evening, and thank you all for making the time to come here on a nice, beautiful Tuesday evening, where you can actually go into a restaurant and